I guess we're recording. Let's see, let me get this to the right height. So today we're going to be trying some Masters Collection Woodford Reserve, the 5 malt stouted mash, limited edition number 17. Give the stuff a try. Oof. It's not your normal Woodford Reserve. That's a little more. It's like a Scotch with some real heavy on the vanilla on the back end. Today I wanted to go over the basics of a Browning A5, specifically a vintage Browning A5. This one's got a couple quirky little features to it that I had been hunting in a shotgun, and I was willing to give up a couple if I found the right one. And this one just so happened to have every feature that I was preferring to have on a shotgun, plus a couple more. So just rundown of the gun. This is a 1971 Belgian-made Browning A5. The A5s and the Superpose were moved to Japan in the Moroku factory in '76. So this one's a true Belgian. People will typically say it's not because it has a black trigger and the American style pistol grip. This is actually a Magnum. So the Magnums typically came with black triggers and the squared off pistol grip instead of the Prince of Wales round grip. And then since it's a Magnum, it has a couple other little features to it. And I'll show a different camera angle of me disassembling the gun. If you haven't handled the A5 before, there's a feature where if the action is open and the bolt's all the way back and you slide a shell into it, it will auto feed the shell into the receiver. This one's a, let's see, 12 gauge, 2 3/4, number 5, ounce and a quarter payload, and the brass on these is super high. That helps, especially with these old guns, ejecting. But as promised, I will show you the speed load option. So safety's on, bolts in the rearward position. If I go to load the shell, when I pull my thumb out, it will automatically load that shell. So another angle of it would be from the bottom. And there you go. And as you can see, there's no shells in this gun. Another cool feature, if say you're duck hunting and some geese come in, what you can do is say if you already had one of these number 5s in the magazine, there is a little switch right here. You can flip it rearward, and it has a little mechanism in there where it's a little lever that goes and stops the next shell from loading out of the magazine. So I can open my chamber and I can put in what people would consider a goose load, which is a 2 or maybe a 4. But the cool thing about these Boss shot shells is they're copper plated bismuth. Really awesome thing about the bismuth is it's super heavy. They have some marking that says it hits like lead, and if you go out and shoot these enough, you do realize that they act a little more like lead than the steel shots nowadays. And if you look up how dense they are, they're pretty heavy and they carry a lot of energy down range. And beauty of that is, well, you can shoot 5s at geese as well. So let's just say that you wanted to put a bigger load in, like a number 2 or a 3, or Boss actually makes a 3.5 duplex load, which is a pretty sweet little load. But you'd load your 2 in, and of course you'd hit your button and you'd fire it, and chamber will be stuck open because your next shell did not feed. Now I will flip this switch and we'll try to get a good angle here. When I flip it, you'll see it load into the chamber, and that's the round that's in the magazine. Magazine cutoff's engaged. When I disengage it, you have that speed load again, and you're ready to mount and shoot the next duck that comes in. Next, we'll do a little overview of this gun. All right, we'll start up here. So these old Belgian guns, little things that are interesting about them. So the barrels were actually not rated for steel shot. They were rated for lead. Then later on, they started making the Magnums, so the 3-inch. Those are 2 3/4, but this gun will handle 3-inch. It's called a long recoil gun. The whole barrel will actually recoil. That's what pushes the bolt back. Barrel comes forward, bolt will stay back, shell comes into chamber and slides forward. This is a neat gun. I searched and searched and searched and found this out of Thorpe, Wisconsin. So the previous owner had gotten it taken to a gunsmith and got the end of the barrel threaded for the Browning Invector choke. I know that the Moroku barrels came with the Invector chokes, but this is a true Belgian-made barrel. It's stamped Belgium. And so the way that came to be, they took it to a gunsmith, and when you pull the choke out, you can tell that the inside has been machined. It's not blued on the inside of it. Definitely not from the factory. Coming back, remember, this is a 51-year-old gun, and the bluing is absolutely incredible. And also the wood is gorgeous. I'm a sucker for these old A5s and the Remington Model 11s, and the wood on this one, usually it's a lot darker, and I'm a big fan of this lighter wood. The checkering is pristine. There's a couple spots up on the fore end where the checkering's been, you know, nicked and scuffed up, but overall it's a really, really good gun. So here is the other end. Once again, checkering looks great. Here's that lever for the magazine cutoff. If you flip it back, that is now engaged, so the shells that are in the magazine tube will not feed into the action when the gun is fired or the bolt's drawn back. We'll flip that back forward. And the engraving, again, the engraving's a little worn in the middle. You expect that from a gun that's 51 years old, but other than that, this gun has been very well taken care of. Extremely well taken care of. And again, I found this thing in Thorpe, Wisconsin, and got it mailed down here to Alabama. Alright, so doing my best to get a good camera angle on this gun. Gonna try to disassemble it and keep everything in frame, and just explain a little bit more how this gun works. So easiest way to begin the disassembly, and I'm not going to fully disassemble it, is you'll unscrew the fore end, and it's under tension, so it's always good to hold that fore end back while you take the cap off. Has these little knurlings in it that catch on a spring-loaded peg. Another great cool thing about this gun is the diagram in the forearm. These got rubbed off or taken out by the owners or gunsmiths because people were afraid they jammed the gun up. But this actually shows you how to set the friction rings up. And as you can see, with taking the barrel off, you'll actually see the friction rings. And these are what control the recoil of the gun. So you have this big massive spring, and the barrel actually pushes. This is called a brake, and these little black rings are friction rings, and there's actually 2 brakes and 1, 2, 3 friction rings for the Magnum setup. If you're shooting heavier loads, you can readjust and run a single brake and a single friction ring for lighter loads, but you place those, and the orientation actually is, it's very particular. So if you see, these rings are beveled. They have a flat side and a beveled side. And so the first ring you put in bevel side out, then you drop in a brake. Next ring goes bevel side in, and then you put another friction ring back to back with the bevel facing outward, and you have your last brake. And then your barrel, actually this the magazine ring on the barrel itself has a beveled end on the inside, and it squeezes down on that brake as well and slows the whole action down, so you don't bust the inside of the gun all up. Let's see, we also have not the original not the original plug in there. Actually, there's no plug in there at all right now. So that has definitely been changed out for a plastic plug, which is fine. You know, these guns are pretty old and they wear out over time. But that is how you would adjust the friction ring on this. And just short of taking it all apart, there's really no other true adjustments in these. So I will put it back together. As you see, this will fit into the action like so, slide down, and here's that part where it recoils. Let's see if I can get a better angle of this recoiling down, and if you can get it fixed in there. It's a little finicky. Also, another thing, when you reinstall the forearm and you'll hear it click on that little peg, it can be hand tight. You don't have to, you know, just absolutely reef on the thing with a pair of pliers, as long as it's hand tight and the forearm doesn't wiggle too much. You have to make sure that the forearm matches up with the receiver flush. I've seen it where it's not flush, and you know, you pull the trigger on one of these heavy duck loads and it'll actually crack that forearm, because well, it's not built to fire when it's not installed correctly. Well guys, that's all I had, is the just to show you the Browning A5 3-inch Magnum. Heck of a gun. Super excited that I finally have a 3-inch Magnum. I grew up shooting my dad's 20 gauge A5. It was the 2 3/4 version, but there's just something about these when you point with them. The sight picture is just absolutely incredible. Some people call these the old humpback for the raised receiver on the end. Everyone thinks of it as their granddad's gun, and you know, with everyone coming out today with these with the nicer, lighter, more well-balanced guns, they shoot great. They last a while with the coatings and the Cerakotes that are coming out now. But there is a reason that these old guns have stood the test of time, and there's a reason that this gun is 51 years old and looks as good as it does. It's not just because it was well taken care of, which it was, but these guns were well made by the European craftsmen, and they were all hand finished, and there's just a quality about this gun that you cannot find in modern mass-produced waterfowl guns on the market today. There's just not. You can get, I mean, incredible guns like Caesar Guerinis or Resinis, or you know, there's some pretty nice Browning Satori's coming out. Benelli makes nice guns. Berettas makes nice guns. But there's just something about these old guns that they're just bomb-proof, and if you clean them and take care of them and don't have to use them as a boat paddle too much, you'll be giving them to your kids. Thank you all.